Hello, everybody out there on the Twitch and the YouTubes and all that good social jazz, blah 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 blah. Blah. Welcome to episode. I don't know what that was either.
He's hardcore. He's hardcore. He's hardcore.
I like how Walter's just frozen
He's
like.
a whore.
That's literally that was literally Walter for like 15 seconds. Nice one. Anyways, welcome to episode 40. Yeah, we are 10 episodes away from not only episode 50, but the 1-year anniversary of this podcast. We're getting there, folks.
And you know what that means.
Yes, but it's top secret, though. Shh. Not really, but anyways.
Let's go back to the last episode.
Yes.
Don't tell anybody.
Heroes of Wrestling.
Watch along. Hell.
He's gonna hate it. He hates us for recommending it. He secretly wants us dead.
Well, I know a guy who refereed that show, and he's had nothing but positive things to say about it.
I know. Because he got paid.
Yeah.
No, he didn't. He didn't get paid.
I thought he did get paid.
No, he did not get. But they took care of his room and board, his travel. They paid for all of that.
Oh, all right.
And they did give him. He was allowed to gamble. I guess they gave him some chips he could gamble with. But they took care of his room and board, his transportation, all food, drink, everything. They just didn't pay him.
That was his pay. So he took care of his transit.
Yeah, that was his pay, and he didn't.
He's a college athlete.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
College.
He was a
athlete.
college athlete, basically. Yep. Room and board, that's good enough.
That's it.
Pretty much, yes.
Pay your dues, kid.
But, yes, so episode 40, and this is an interesting one. This is only the second non-review episode we've done in the history of this show, and a first retrospective episode that we're doing. And, funny enough, this is a topic I wanted to see James do on his From the Vault show for a long time now. But I thought, you know what, since we got this show, and we need some different ideas to come along, so I thought, you know what, let's do the one that I wanted James to do, and let's all do it together. Mick Foley's WWF run first time from 1996 through 2000. Talking about his pay-per-view matches, his feuds, best moments, and everything in between. Already I see in the chat, Ricky and Arthur is here. How's it going, y'all?
Hope you're all having a nice day.
And already Ricky with
right here on YouTube.
And Twitch.
And Twitch. Bang, bang. YouTube, Twitch. Bang, bang.
Oh, boy.
Pizzazz!
Yes!
Oh, wrong promotion. Wrong era.
Yeah. Wrong era, yep.
He's worthless, Mick.
Oh, boy. So...
He's worthless cactus.
So, to begin with this episode, where the hell do we begin other than the beginning? Well, why don't we talk a little bit about... Yeah, no shit. Already the show's gone off the rails, but hey, it's our shtick at this point, honestly. But, so before we get to the beginning of his WWF run, why don't we talk a little bit about where Mick was prior to coming over to WWF, and he was, well, of course, this wouldn't be his first hoorah in the WWF, as back in the 80s, Mick was an enhancement guy for a short time in the mid to late 80s, going through many names like Jack Foley, and what's the one that they screwed up with one time? What was it? Mick Foley?
Mick Foley.
Mick Foley. The fuck this guy just called me? But the real beginnings of it go back to earlier in 1996. Mick Foley is pulling double duty in both Japan and especially in ECW. And in fact, Mick's last match on ECW was against Mikey Whipwreck on March 9th at the Big Ass Extreme Bash. And even...
I think it was night one. Was it night one or night two? Because that was a 2-night event.
Night 2.
It was night 2, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
And even danced with Stevie Richards and the Blue Meanie to Frank Sinatra's New York, New York.
Out the door.
That was not the main event to Big Ass Extreme Bash.
Nope.
It was not the main event. It was a semi-main event.
And he did wrestle the night before, night 1, against Chris Jericho.
Right, he did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what's cool is the crowd was going, "Don't go, Mick. Please don't go. Please don't go." Because they really loved him down there, and they thought, oh, great, he's going to WWF. They're going to give him something bad. And kind of like
one screwed up place. That's how he starts his farewell speech.
I said some pretty abusive things, and to have 99% of you give me this kind of ovation, this kind of makes it worth it.
So now, how does Mick come to the WWF? Well,
My car.
Jesus Christ.
You're welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, my team.
Best Fiverr can buy. So, how does Mick Foley get signed?
So,
With a pen.
Pen and paper. With a pen.
So, according to stories all throughout the history of wrestling, at the persistence of Jim Ross, who was he head of talent at this point?
He is at this point.
All right. So he's trying to persuade Vince into signing Foley to a full-time contract. Vince, seeing his work as Cactus Jack, and was like, don't know about doing the Cactus
Don't like
Jack.
his face. He's
Don't like
ugly.
his face. And wanted to cover his face.
He's a liability.
And
I don't like his feet. E.T.
yeah, so Vince wanted to cover up his face, so the original idea for Foley's character was to have the mask, but be called Mason the Mutilator. But WWE or WWF actually found the gimmick, quote, too dark, but left the mask on, and Foley, while interested in the concept of the character, wasn't sure of the name, so he came up with the name Mankind, and Vince, I love it! And
There was a double meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about the destruction of mankind and the future of mankind, and
yep.
Because it was Mason the Mutilator, but then he said, what about Mankind the Mutilator? And then eventually the Mutilator got dropped and just became Mankind.
And all for the better. So, so after the ideas get greenlit, we start seeing these vignettes pop up randomly on Raw and Superstars and stuff. The visual of his half ear and him in the boiler room with George the Rat.
Who was the pet of Jim Cornette. Thank you. Yes, Jim Cornette. Jim Cornette.
That I did not know. So, and of course, one of my favorite lines: "I'm creating my own symphony of destruction."
Yeah.
I'm like, thank you for the Megadeth reference there, Mick.
That's awesome.
have a nice day.
So all this leads to April 1st, 1996, Monday Night Raw, night after WrestleMania 12. We see the debut of Mankind beating Bob Sparkplug Holly. But that wouldn't be the only thing he did on that night. No siree. Later in the night, in a match between The Undertaker and Justin Hawk Bradshaw, Undertaker tombstones Bradshaw's going for the pin. Out of nowhere comes Mankind, beats the shit out of Undertaker with the cactus elbow and the mandible claw. And off to the races we go to one of the best feuds in company history.
And that's how you get a guy over right away. You send him at one of your top stars.
Absolutely.
All it took was one cactus elbow, and it's like, oh shit, this Mankind guy, he's a real threat. And that's similar to how he got over in WCW, the cactus elbow.
Yep.
Yep. And also, let's not forget, and James, you've talked about this in your Undertaker episodes, that this was the first time you had someone play Undertaker's mind games and be effective against him. And also what made it unique is that we'd seen Taker go up against guys bigger than him or crazy monsters, but not somebody like this. And it was different and it was cool.
Before, this is the era where Undertaker really starts stepping it up as far as like his in-ring,
and promos.
And promos. And Mick is the guy, or Mankind is the guy to kind of kickstart that era. Give him the incentive, because we had some knockdown, drag-out, violent matches in this program.
Absolutely.
And also with that, we got to see the development of Cactus Jack and his promo capability in ECW. With everything he was doing between Raven and the anti-hardcore stuff, you started to see many different sides of the Cactus Jack that you only knew from WCW in Japan. Now, with the Mankind character, he is free to start flowing his verbal chaos against us. And it's just, every time I watch a Mick Foley promo nowadays, I half expect him to screw something up. He never gets anything wrong. Everything is bang, 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 hits all the points. So much stuff flying at you. It's like, is he ever going to stop talking? I don't care. Keep talking. You just get sucked right into it. And that helped him create that aura about that character to make it even more of a credible threat against an established star like The Undertaker.
Absolutely. Because, even Bruce Pritchard even said himself that around this time, we needed to hear from Undertaker more. We needed to see him go out there and do more in the ring. And while you saw this start a little bit before with the match with Brett at the Royal Rumble, and then the match against
Diesel,
and the stuff with Diesel, but it was here with Mankind where it really went to another level. So throughout the rest of this period, so in April we had the Good Friends Better Enemies show. And neither Taker or Mankind was on the main card, but they had a dark match after the main event, which Undertaker won. Then in May, this was also at the same time Undertaker's feuding with Goldust, and Goldust and Mankind form an alliance with even Mankind calling Goldust Mommy, which was so weird looking back. But during that,
it was a hell of an alliance.
It was an underrated grouping, I would say, because both guys playing.
Just imagine Mick called Goldust Mommy and he called Sable Mommy. Just saying.
And of course, during one episode of Raw before the Beware of Dog shows, we had the classic segment of Goldust and Undertaker, where Goldust is like, that cologne is intoxicating. What is that? Is that embalming fluid number 5? And then Taker as they're holding hands, but then Mankind comes in to help do some damage before Taker gets up and scares the shit out of Goldust out of his wig.
Which also had the segment with Undertaker in the casket doing an interview. Mankind shuts the lid, ties it up, and starts smashing it. Great shit.
Yeah.
Right there.
Which all leads to In Your House Beware of Dog, where the main event of night 2, which, by the way, little note, we will review the Beware of Dog shows in May. That's a guarantee.
Both nights?
Yeah, night 2, particularly. In the main event, it's the casket match for the Intercontinental title between Undertaker and Goldust. And as it looked like Undertaker was going to win, he opens the casket, Mankind inside, mandible claw, Taker in the casket, shut the lid, Goldust beats the Undertaker.
Broken casket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, half broken casket. But then all of this leads to the first official pay-per-view match between these two.
That doesn't look good, Walt.
King of the Ring 1996.
Which we covered before in last year, actually. We talked about this show and we talked about this match. Really good beginnings of the feud going forward. A really good brawl. Generally stuff at the time you didn't really see WWF do much of up at this point. No. With the chair and all the crazy stuff and the two just beating the shit out of each other. Match was a really good match to set things up going forward. And of course the finish with Paul Bearer going to hit Mankind with the urn, but Mankind pulls Taker in. Taker gets knocked into it. Mandible Claw, no! And Mankind beats The Undertaker at King of the Ring. Now, This would be only the third time anyone's beaten The Undertaker by pin or submission, anything of the sorts.
This was by knockout.
By knockout.
That was the thing.
But yeah, by knockout.
This was the first time by knockout that anybody's ever beaten The Undertaker.
Yep. So then going forward after that, while Mankind was still going at it with Taker still at it with Goldust, leading to In Your House International Incident in July, where you saw Undertaker go a lot more aggressive on Goldust, but then in the end, Mankind pops up from under the ring like Undertaker did back in February against Diesel, pulls Undertaker under the ring, and then comes out through another hole, and then Taker reappears from the original hole, and then they just batter each other all throughout backstage afterwards, which of course leads to SummerSlam, the first ever Boiler Room Brawl. And of course, as James, you have said before, this was cinematic before cinematic became the norm. And it was amazing. This is one of my all-time favorite matches in the history of the business, the Boiler Room Brawl. This is one of those matches I will go back and watch over and over and
Mick
over
took
again.
A gnarly fucking bump from a ladder to the floor, like Jesus Christ. No padding. All he had was that box. That was it.
Yeah, the box and a tarp and maybe a couple conduit pipes.
That was it.
Yeah. And then, of course, after they get out of the boiler room, then you see it's, as Jim Ross even said on commentary, this is like a prison riot. But then we get to the end where they come into the ring, and, of course, another nasty bump where Taker and Mankind on the ropes, and then...
Nasty plunge.
Nasty plunge, yep.
Yep. Brutal shit right there. And then, of course, the finish of Taker in the ring, getting ready to get the urn, but Paul Bearer turns around, mandible claw, Paul Bearer laughs, slap, 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 boom! Urn right to the skull. The death sentence. And then Paul Bearer turns heel and joins Mankind, gives him the urn, and here's how much confidence they seem to have had in Mankind. Nobody, up to this point, beat The Undertaker 2 straight times. Nobody did. At least on pay-per-view. Since...
Where it mattered, yeah.
Or, yeah, where it mattered. Now, why did I say since? But you get the idea. So, feud is still going on in the background because going into the next pay-per-view, In Your House Mind Games, Mankind is now going after the big prize, the WWF Championship, at Mind Games against Shawn Michaels. And this is another one of those classic matches during this time. And
Mick called this the best match of his career during that first run.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a hell of a match.
It's not all about brawling and blood and all that stuff. It's an actual match with a guy who can just work with anybody and literally work with a
And also, this brought out a little bit of aggression for Shawn Michaels, who was not really having his run, but yeah. Then he has this match, and holy shit, these two put on a fucking classic match in Philly.
Yeah.
Was this the show that Mick had to cut that promo before the show so they wouldn't cheer him? Is that this show or is that a different one? There's a show.
I'm not
There's
sure.
a show they had, like Mick was on it, and they knew they were going to be in Philly, and they knew that the Philly crowd was going to love Mankind. So Foley had to go out before the show and cut a promo just ranking on Philly and all the people and all that stuff. So they were guaranteed to boo him when he came out. So it probably
it might have been this one. Yeah.
That show, but yeah, they did have to do that. You can imagine that.
Yeah. But like we said, this match was a classic between the two. Although the finish, you could understand what they were trying to do with the finish, but it did kind of ruin it.
Well, you weren't going to be giving Mick the belt, and you're not having Mick lose that early. So you have to do something.
Yeah. It's just the way things go.
Yeah, so you had interference in the beginning from Vader coming in, trying to get at Shawn, then Sid coming out to make the save, setting up their match for the next pay-per-view. And then Undertaker pops up out of the casket that Paul Bearer and Mankind brought out, and then goes after Mankind to continue their feud, which all comes to a head, at least in this iteration, at the next pay-per-view at In Your House Buried Alive in the first ever Buried Alive match, and hands down, best Buried Alive match they've ever done. And it was, as we would all say, a spectacle of a match.
Quite frankly, the only Buried Alive they should have ever done.
Yeah.
You couldn't top it. I mean, doesn't leave a lot of room for any kind of change to happen. It's the same kind of finish every time.
Same with the Inferno match. Same with the Last Ride match.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
this is another one. These two beat the shit out of each other,
and more nasty bumps like fucking Taker tossing Foley off the grave down to the floor. Some more brutal shit, and then of course the finish to the match, choke slam into the grave, and then Taker proceeds to bury Mankind alive, and even after the bell rings, I'm not stopping, and he keeps shoveling dirt and knocking referees off, and then out comes Terry Gordy in a mask, better known as Executioner at this point, whack, back of the head with a shovel, gets Mankind out, and all three, Executioner, Mankind, and Paul Bearer, start to work on burying The Undertaker alive, and then out comes a bunch of guys, Triple H, Bradshaw, Zeb.
They gotta fill the grave.
Gold
the time limit.
Yeah, they gotta fill her up. And all throughout the filling up of the grave, you kept seeing, like, trash getting thrown in, like Coke cups and all this stuff. And Paul Bearer, yes, he's gone forever! All the way to the top!
We did it! We did it!
Mankind, he's gone! And then, of course, the classic moment, lightning bolt hits the tombstone. The Undertaker's alive! The Undertaker lives! But then after this match, you wouldn't see The Undertaker on TV for a month. Not until Survivor Series, which we talked about during Survivor Series month. The match between Mankind and The Undertaker. Undertaker debuting the Lord of Darkness look. The first version of it with the medieval leather and the teardrop. And these two, another really good match, although a little more wrestling-based than their previous matches, which I thought was really cool, especially seeing Taker do spinning toe holds and all this kind of stuff, which we talked more in depth about.
Stuff like that, which makes it feel like it's almost backwards the way the feud goes. Usually you start with that kind of stuff and you lead up to the gimmick stuff. They started right out with the brawls and the gimmicks and like, okay, now we're going to watch them wrestle.
Yeah. But in the end, Undertaker would finally pin Mankind in a match with the Tombstone 1, 2, 3. Of course, the other big stipulation of this match was Paul Bearer being hung up above in a shark cage, and if Taker won, he'd get 5 minutes alone with Paul Bearer. Well, that didn't happen because out came the Executioner to make the save, which leads into Undertaker Executioner in the Armageddon Rules match at In Your House It's Time, which Mankind played a part in, interfering, but then getting put in a straitjacket, which was a cool visual, but the match itself was...
We get Undertaker Terry Gordy, and it's like, what, 2-3 years too late?
Way too late.
Way too late.
Going into the beginning of the decade, Terry Gordy was hailed as one of the best in the business. The Freebirds were dissolved. He went over and continued to improve his craft in Japan, teaming up with Stan Hansen and Dr. Death. And then what was it? Was it a car accident or what happened?
Cocaine overdose.
Oh, well, never mind. Cocaine overdose.
Went to a coma.
It just kind of
it messed up his head.
Well,
he went to a coma, loss of oxygen to the brain, which kills a lot of brain cells, and he just was never the same. Never the same after that.
He went from headlining Budokan Hall with Dr. Death and wrestling Misawa for the Triple Crown title and Jumbo and all them to
I may have told this story before, and I apologize if I have, but I got to see an ECW house show probably right around this time then, but probably right before this. And it was Terry Gordy against Brian Lee, who wasn't DOA member Brian Lee yet, but he was dressing like that. He was doing more the biker look.
Primetime Brian Lee.
Yeah, primetime, but he wasn't like babyface Brian Lee. He was the biker looking Brian Lee. So they have the match. It's a horrible match. And I think it ended a double count out, double DQ, something lame like that. Brian Lee rolls out of the ring, and me and my two friends, Scott and Lee, we're all sitting front row, and I have this on DVD. It's hilarious. Brian Lee rolls right over to our spot, hits the guardrail, looks at all of us and says, "That didn't suck now, did it?" And walks off. And all you see on camera is three schmucks sitting there. Brian Lee, you don't see his face, and all of a sudden you see us go like that, because you couldn't hear what he said. That didn't suck now, did it? Love that story. Yeah.
Gordy goes from headlining All Japan to having to put himself in the death matches, something he was never known for.
Never liked. Fuck.
Against Foley of all people.
Yep. Powerbomb the Tex.
Yep. So we get Taker versus Terry Gordy, although he's the executioner, and he's also not the Terry Gordy of yesteryear. Which is really unfortunate.
This match wasn't
a phenomenal match.
Yeah, this match wasn't that great. Although the only memorable thing about this match, in my opinion, was Mankind being put in the straitjacket. That was it. Although I almost forgot, before this show, about a week or two before on Raw, you had another match between Mankind and The Undertaker. That was another really good match, but Undertaker wound up winning that. Almost forgot about that. So that was 1996 right there. Mankind having an amazing feud going with The Undertaker, getting a classic title match against Shawn Michaels, ending the year being put in a straitjacket. So now,
great first year for a guy.
Absolutely.
For a debuting new star, great first year.
Yep.
Yeah. So now we move into 1997, and Mankind starts off 1997 in the Royal Rumble match, which we talked about in Rumble 97. Entered the match, scored 2 eliminations on Terry Funk and Rocky Maivia, lasted 12 minutes, 20 seconds before being eliminated by The Undertaker. Then February, not really doing much in February. He wasn't even on the Final 4 card. But then you fast forward to WrestleMania, and one of the weirdest matches in WrestleMania history, Mankind and Vader teaming up against Owen Hart and British Bulldog for the Tag Team Championships.
It's like they couldn't find anything for Vader or Mankind. This is their first WrestleMania. This is Vader and Foley's first ever WrestleMania.
No, this is Vader's second WrestleMania.
Oh, that's right. No, you're right. He was the second. He was in the 6-man tag the following previous year.
These two, they have masks. Let's put them together.
Yeah.
Yep. For that.
Just a very bizarre, and also it was like the throwaway match too. It was I think it was the one right before the main event, wasn't it, Scott?
No, this was before Bret Austin.
The submission match.
It was still used as like a throwaway match, kind of like a go get your popcorn and drink and go to the bathroom match. It's only
piss break match.
Yeah, and you would think,
and it was two heel teams.
Mm-hmm.
Talent wise,
it looks
great talent.
Yeah, it looks great on paper. You would have thought this would have been a great tag match, but it just, because of that dynamic of 2 heel teams, but also the bigger problem, the match was more about Owen and Bulldogs infighting rather than the tag titles.
It hurt the fans' feelings.
And also, it ended in a double countout as well. So, yeah. Not that great of a match, even though on paper you would think it would have been a great match. Sadly, that wasn't the case. So many things. Well, then again, this whole show was a giant clusterfuck from the word go. Thanks a lot, Shawn Michaels. But even though it was screwed up even before he lost his smile. Thanks a lot, Vince Russo. Or, I'm sorry, Vic Venom.
Yeah.
So... but that takes care of WrestleMania. But then by the end of the month, you start seeing him get back at with Undertaker, and the storyline of Paul Bearer wanting to get back with the Undertaker after...
I need my Undertaker back!
I thought I was holding you back, but look at you now, you got the title and you didn't need me, but now I want to reunite. Will you please Will you please take me back?
Walt, please don't leave me. I can't be alone.
And while Taker made it seem like he was gonna join back, but then he's like, about ready to hit Paul Bearer with the urn when Mankind out of nowhere, flash paper, fire right in the face of the Undertaker.
Fire in the eyes!
My eye hole.
My eye hole.
My hole!
Oh, God.
My hole.
Leading to Revenge of the Taker.
Yes, which originally was supposed to have been the main event of the show, but they ran an angle where Austin gets attacked by Owen and Bulldog, so on-screen President Gorilla Monsoon switches the matches. Undertaker Mankind, then Bret Austin. And this match between Taker and Mankind for the title, another classic of between the two, in my opinion, up to this point, maybe the best match they had against each other. Maybe it's a two-legged at this point, a two-legged race between this and the Boiler Room Brawl. But
Boiler Room match, yeah.
But
I mean, those both great in and of themselves for
absolutely
what they represent. So I mean,
Mick takes another gnarly bump headfirst through the comment. Which, by the way, it's the old tables, not the modern tables.
Yeah,
this was a real table,
real tables with the curtain with
not
the
breakaway. It didn't have the ring on it underneath to keep it strong, of course, but still, it still sucked. Like you get swallowed by the fucking
and
thing.
You see Mankind get unmasked for the first time in this match, and Undertaker.
The thing about this match. Oh wait.
Oh, you go ahead.
Go ahead.
Say what you're gonna say. No, say what you were gonna say because it resulted the match. Because I was gonna talk post.
Yeah, so Undertaker would beat Mankind to retain the title, but post-match.
So what was supposed to happen post-match was another fireball. Only this time, Undertaker moves Paul Bearer in front of him. Mick couldn't light the fireball, so Undertaker's like, "Fuck this!" Attacked Mick, put Paul Bearer in the corner. Here's the paper. Here's the lighter, and
killed the gimmick.
Yeah.
but at a point it's like we got to do something, so fuck it, we'll take control of it.
Singed his fucking eyebrows off and part of his mustache, and
yeah. So the Undertaker Mankind feud was over for now after this show. Then we move into May, where again Mankind back to where he was in February. Not really doing much, although he has a match against Rocky Maivia at In Your House a Cold Day in Hell.
Where the fans cheer him.
Yep.
Yeah, because this is right in the thick of the die, Rocky, die. Rocky sucks.
This pay-per-view confrontation between The Rock and Foley.
Yep. And in this match, Mankind would beat Rocky Maivia in an okay match. Of course, fast forward a year and a half later, and they would have great matches.
Yep.
However, also during May of 1997, from May 19th, oh my God, Kane's coming to kill me. May 19th through to June 9th.
May 19th. Anyway.
May 19th. Oh, God.
But, so from May 19th through June 9th, you would start seeing these interview segments of Mankind with Jim Ross. And I love the way they did this, and Foley explained it in his documentary WWE did 8 years ago, that Vince won because Vince, up to this point, was still not 100% sold on the Mankind character. Even though he approved the name and the gimmick, he wasn't a fan of it so much. Mm-hmm. So he starts asking Foley about like his real life story, and thought his real life backstory was more interesting than the character, so wanted him to just spill the beans out on camera. And Foley's like, okay, I'll answer him, and they'll be true, but they'll be done in character. So it's like a shoot interview, but not quite. Even though the answers are all a work shoot. One of the beginnings of the worked shoot stuff that would be done to death up to today. Yeah.
He did this prior with Goldust, where he
Bro.
answered all the questions
Bro.
as Dustin, but as Goldust.
Bro. It'll be great, bro.
Which even Russo...
To be fair, these were great.
These were great. To be fair to Russo, these were great, especially the Foley stuff. And I remember the Reader's Digest version I watched on his 3 Faces of Foley DVD, which actually... right here. The Attitude Collection that are rare as fuck to get a hold of.
See, when we were older, Scott, you remember when Scott and I were on, we had a thing called VHS, and I had 3 Faces of Foley on VHS.
I had it on VHS too, but then I had to get the DVD.
Where he's telling the Hardy Boys,
yes,
that's basically the video is him
talking to the Hardys and having fun, yeah. Yeah, so, we get these interviews, we hear all kinds of crazy stories about how he was picked on as a kid, and ate a worm because he wanted to get reactions out of people and to show that, hey, you can't ruin my pride. So I took the largest specimen, Jimmy, and I sucked it down!
Bang, bang.
I'm a good kisser!
I never got a chance to show it. So, I wanted to show people that I could love and could be love. And then, of course, you get the WWF introductions of Dude Love and of Cactus Jack to familiarize people who hadn't...
movie.
Yeah, and of course,
I wasn't
the movie.
Mankind. I sure as hell wasn't Mankind. I was Dude Love.
Yeah, we get the classic homemade video he made back in the 80s, which is insane to think.
Core.
Yeah.
Fame, fortune.
And
Dude Love's got to be 50, 60 stories in the air.
Tape was available through the tape trading circuit way back when. You could get that.
You could get that, yeah. Yep. Yeah, it was like the Jim Cornette Dairy Queen thing. That was available through tape at that time, too. We had a copy of it.
Wow.
California Creative Wrestling. I forget the guy's name who ran it, but he was in the van and is the guy videotaping Corny getting out of the van and yelling at the people at the Dairy Queen.
Jericho and Lance Storm are in
Lance
there. I think
background. No, Candido and Tammy are in there.
Oh, they're the one behind. They're behind them. Yep.
No, they're in the restaurant. They're in the restaurant. They see Jimmy stick his head through the freaking drive-through window.
We wanted to order this damn shit. We
want to fucking
bitch.
Fucking bitch.
I got a banana line for 20 motherfucking minutes.
But after a shitty show in Bryersburg, or I forgot the name of the town they were in. But
I forget the name. I remember that interview where he talks about
Did he say something also?
What's
that?
No
fucking comedy bus.
It was Jericho, right? Yeah.
Jericho's egging him on, and then that's. But that's how we saw that first. It was this horrible thing called California Creative Wrestling. It was just bullshit. We think it was just a wrestling school making stupid stuff. They had guys like John the Rapist and the Great Nambla, and don't get me started. But in the middle of this freaking tape that we just happened to buy, one of us bought through one of those tape trading things, Dave's Wrestling Emporium or Mike Rogers or wherever it was, right smack dab in the middle of that thing is that freaking the Dairy Queen incident. We're like, that can't be real. No, that's Jim Cornette. Holy shit.
Well, you could get that full video of it wasn't even like a wrestling show they were doing. They were doing like a movie or something.
Yeah.
They were filming like a movie.
Yep. And the promos they cut look like the promos they cut on that video there look like Scarsdale's mom's basement where we used to all hang out. We're like watching like, holy shit, that looks like the place we had him doing the fighting in the backyard, him jumping off the roof, which spawned so many other backyard wrestling videos and interest that it was ridiculous. So.
It's because of these Mick Foley shoot promos, like everybody wanted to jump off their roofs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know.
Don't do that.
I know I thought about doing it at one point.
Oh, we all did. Trust me. We did backyard shit at my friend's house, jumping off the deck and everything, and it was man.
Mick Foley did it.
Yeah, which funny enough,
I don't blame Foley for that. In my sake, I blame Sabu.
No, we just did it. We didn't care who was doing it. We just did that shit.
Which
that did influence many other people. And you had other things like I'm a backyard wrestler, MTV My Life special and shit. Like really trying to soak it dry.
Yeah.
Make a joke out of the business, basically.
But yeah, and then of course at the end of these interviews on the June 9th episode, you'd see Foley start losing it, and then Mandible Claw to Jim Ross. Jimmy? Jimmy? He's gonna need some help! And as a result of all this, crowd was starting to get behind Foley, and they turn him babyface, and of course the culmination of him, he's walking out, me? Yeah!
And in all of this, we're forgetting his run to the King of the Ring final.
Which I was actually going to get to. So, after the interviews were done and all that, we get
in the middle of all the interviews.
In the middle.
The King of the Ring.
Yeah, so in
the
Yeah, so now we move into June to King of the Ring, where he's a big part of the show. He has the semifinal match against Jerry Lawler, which was okay, and then made it to the finals in a really good match with Triple H. And that would set off their feud going forward for the next few months. But also, around the same time, Mankind starts wearing an Austin 316 shirt saying, "Pick me, Steve!" Because this was after Shawn was sent away after that locker room fight with Bret Hart, and Austin needed a new tag partner to go up against Owen and Bulldog, and they kept running these angles for a couple of weeks, it feels like, of other people like Brooklyn Brawler. I could be your partner. Oh yeah? And not wanting to have anything to do with Mankind. I don't want anything to do with a freak like you. And then so yeah, there was all that. But before we get to the culmination of that angle, we get to Canadian Stampede in your house, where back to Mankind in his feud with Triple H, we get them in the opener to this show. And it was a great match between the two, ended in a double countout, which helped to set up what would happen the next month. But then, while this was going on, we get on an episode of Raw, it seemed like it was going to be a handicap match. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Owen Hart British Bulldog for the tag team titles, when suddenly out of nowhere, you see this stomping foot. Whoa, Steve-O, it looks like you might be needing a tag team partner. What's the matter? Don't you recognize me? No, I don't blame you for wanting to not team up with that mutilated freak Mankind, but you never said anything about teaming up with the hippest cat in the land. Steve-O, baby, it's me, Dude Love, and I'm coming to save the day. Ow! Have mercy.
And Austin had that look of, what the
hell is this? Which is so cool. And I love Vince on commentary. It's Mankind. Well, I guess it's an alter ego. Mick Foley, you should know. JR? But yeah, so Dude Love makes his debut in this match. And we get...
You and me!
Yeah, you and me. And then it turns into a tag team match, and a really good tag team match at that, between these two teams, which all ends with Dude Love and Austin becoming the tag team champions, and that one handshake while Foley celebrating with a bunch of ladies, one of them being Mick's wife, Kvlt, when she was a blonde.
Dude Love, he's a sex symbol.
I don't know which is weirder, Mick Foley being called a sex symbol or Tommy Dreamer being considered a jock. You get that reference, don't you, Scott?
Fat Dreamer. But, love you,
That's
Tommy.
redundant.
Isn't it? It's a bigger oxymoron than Skinny Tommy Dreamer or Big Show and Good Worker.
Oh boy. But anyways,
But now,
so while that was going on, of course, the feud with Triple H as Mankind was still happening at the same time, all leading up to SummerSlam, where we get the steel cage match to open the show between Mankind and Triple H. One of the best traditional steel cage matches the company ever put on. And of course, another nasty bump. Well, the fucking cage door slammed right into the top of Foley's skull from China, which that hurt like a motherfucker, especially the blue bar cage. Whereas with the chain link, it's not so bad because there's give. With the blue bar, there is no give at all. None at all. And then, of course, we get the finish where Foley climbs to the top, takes his mask and shirt off. It's supposed to be a heart tattoo, but it was so sweaty in there, it just smudged off. And then we get the cactus elbow from the top of the cage. Yeah. Then we get the cactus elbow from the top of the cage in homage to Jimmy Snuka.
Right.
And Mankind defeats Triple H inside the steel cage. And then we come around to September, and boy, September is quite a busy month for Mick Foley, because early in the month, he and Austin had to vacate the tag titles due to Austin's neck injury from SummerSlam. But also, we have the one night only UK show at the same time, and it's Dude Love this time versus Triple H, and another really good match between the two in which Triple H would get the win. But the big thing of the month, on arguably the greatest episode in Raw history, September 22nd, where we had the classic Three Faces of Foley segment, which probably one of the best segments in the history of Raw. You just see Dude Love sitting there, "Oh, have mercy, Hunter, and your fina China." False count anywhere matches aren't exactly my bag, baby. But I know someone. He's my man, my main man. But he's a kind man. Let's bring him out, Mankind, right now. High five, big man down low. Oh, you're too slow.
You really are candy for the chicks.
As much as I want to destroy Hunter Hearst Helmsley, I know someone who wants it even more. Who is it, Manny?
Oh, you don't think? Are you thinking what I think you're thinking?
I think I am thinking what I think you're thinking. Well, who is he? Cactus Jack is back, and the crowd goes fucking ape shit.
Oh my freaking god! With a bat.
Mrs. Foley's baby boy.
It's finally home. Bang bang. And then
we get the porn music.
Porn music, yes.
Who was it? You or was it Scarsdale or Lee who discovered that song in a porn?
Lee or Scarsdale did that. Yep.
Wasn't the NWO theme as well in a porn?
Maybe.
I know the New Age I know the New Age Outlaws theme was used in a porno.
Ah, okay.
I know that for a fact.
But yeah.
Moving on, though.
Incidentally, we did skip over one match that does need to be recognized, and that was September 11th of that year, where it was the ECW WrestleFest 50 Years of Funk. It was the Terry Funk tribute show where Mankind wrestled Sabu. Yep.
And wasn't that also
the first time ever? Not really, but that's how Joey Styles put it. It's the first time ever, but.
Was that also the same show?
Technically, it was the first time you had Mankind against Sabu.
That's what I meant.
Before that, it was Cactus.
Yeah. Wasn't this also the same show where Brett faced Terry, or was that a different show?
Yep.
Okay.
Brett and Terry, and they did the double pin finish, and Brett put the shoulder up, and
the guy wanted to lose.
He was retired. He was done wrestling in Amarillo.
Yes. And Dennis Stamp wasn't booked. Yeah,
I'm not booked.
I'm not booked.
Forever.
I have nothing against the man Dory Funk Jr. is wrestling tonight. I guarantee you I could have a better match with Dory Funk Jr. than he could.
He wrestled RVD and the match was awful.
Yeah, it
so
was.
Dennis Stamp might have been right.
Uh-huh.
That should be a watch along one of these days.
Oh yeah.
That'd be good. Funk and Hart is a great match.
Yeah.
It was a great match.
Yep.
But back to the match with
I was never crazy about Terry Funk using Desperado for theme music. Just so weird.
Well, that was the ECW thing. They were just trying to sell
it
for him, but
doing weird shit.
It was a good story at the time, so it made sense.
Yeah. It just wasn't kind of the music that get me pumped up and going like
But back to
I like the All Japan Funk Brothers.
Step over tall hold.
That's my
jam.
That bass comes in.
But
Flip that.
But back to the match with Cactus and Triple H. Another one of the best matches in Raw history right here.
Oh,
This was an awesome match between these two. And slowly, I feel like this match is what slowly begins Triple H's gradual rise to the top. Because he was able to take so much punishment from Foley in this match. And of course, the classic pile driver through that really fucking flimsy table. 1, 2, 3. Cactus wins in his debut, and the crowd goes nuts. Now, October is kind of an odd month in 97 for Foley, because originally it was going to be Dude Love versus Brian Pillman at In Your House Bad Blood, but that match would ultimately be canceled due to the unfortunate passing of Pillman. But, and then later in the month, Dude Love would be written off when Kane makes his debut, he starts going after everybody, and he goes after Dude Love with 2 brutal choke slams on the steel ramp, which leads to Mankind coming back. What you did was you took an innocent kid and you ruined him! And now you have left me here to pick up the pieces. So, Kane, I will fight you anywhere, anytime, anyhow, building up to Survivor Series, where it'd be Mankind versus Kane, and this would be Kane's in-ring debut as Kane. And I thought the match here, it was a good match between these two. Ultimately a squash match, though, because you want to make Kane look strong, and who better to make him look strong than Foley?
Gotta make Kane.
Including one of the...
Gotta make Kane look very strong.
Yeah, but of course Foley did get his moments, like getting his offense in, including a pile driver, picking him up and slamming him face first into the steps, which Kane would just get up. Nope. And then, of course, 2 big bumps in this match. First, the one-handed choke slam off the apron through the announce table. But the big one, Kane up on the apron, Mankind on the top rope, slammed down to the fucking floor.
And again, that was nothing new for Mick, because referencing back to the match we saw with Mick and Terry Gordy in the IWA King of the Deathmatch tournament, Mick takes that freaking flare bump from the second rope to the freaking concrete floor. Just brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, at least there they probably had a little bit of padding, but ugh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a little bit of padding with this one.
Yep.
But in the end, Kane would beat Mankind in a good match here at Survivor Series. And then not really much for the rest of the month until we move into December, where Foley is back as Cactus Jack. And we get Terry Funk as Chainsaw Charlie, and they come together to feud against the New Age Outlaws. And this feud would go on from here throughout the first part of 1998, which perfectly segues into 1998 for Mick Foley. And we kick it off in January with the Royal Rumble match, the classic Three Faces of Foley Rumble match.
Yes.
Where Cactus coming in at number 1, Chainsaw Charlie at number 2, and Foley as Cactus would score 1 elimination on Tom Brandi and would last 9 minutes 21 seconds before being eliminated by Chainsaw Charlie. Fast forward to entrance 16, and it's Mankind, and he would get an elimination by eliminating Chainsaw Charlie before lasting only 2 minutes 7 seconds and get eliminated by Goldust. Then fast forward to entrance 28, and Dude Love's back! And would score 2 eliminations, eliminating Bradshaw and Henry Godwin. Lasted 7 minutes 53 seconds before making it to the final 4 and get eliminated by Farouk. But all in all, awesome stuff here with Foley, and it was the payoff to the Three Faces of Foley angle, and it was perfect. Now we're just waiting for the day we get the all the phases of Bray Wyatt in a Royal Rumble match. Husky Harris, Swamp Bray, Funhouse Bray, and The Fiend.
The Fiend. Mm-hmm. Whatever's going to show up at either tomorrow night Elimination Chamber or at WrestleMania.
Yeah. So there's that.
Fireproof Fiend.
Yeah. But then we fast forward into February 2nd on Raw. I was actually watching this match earlier today. So it's a one-on-one match, hardcore match, Cactus Jack versus Chainsaw Charlie, and they show the interview with Jim Ross before the show started. of them Ross asking, why are you guys having this match? Why not? Essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And these two put on a really good match with a cool finish of Foley up on the Tron, the cactus elbow into the dumpster when out comes Road Dogg and Billy Gunn, the New Age Outlaws, tying the lid shut. Mm-hmm. And then, oh my God, don't you do it! Push the dumpster off the stage, through tables down to the floor.
There's people in there!
Mm-hmm. Now, one thing that's always awkward looking back with this is like they were trying to do a reality warping moment by having faces and heels come out and act all concerned for Foley and Funk, and Vince even showing up and like confronting Road Dogg and Billy Gunn about it. Mm-hmm. And then
they definitely hammed it up. They tried to make it look as real as possible.
As real as possible, yeah.
Yeah, even Sonny being out there crying, holding Terry's hand.
If we knew how Terry Funk sells, which he was doing he was
doing the shake thing, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you
my neck! Career, I broke my fucking neck!
You saw how he was convulsing and all that. That's a classic Terry Funk sell. Kind of gave it away.
It's like war.
And then they tried to go further with it after that, with Ross talking to them both off the headset backstage. Were you guys just careless trying to get over? Well, and they were trying to give her legit answers like, I got a family. And you don't get many opportunities in this business when out came Triple H and Shawn Michaels trying to say it's all about the ratings. Which leads into the end of the night when you had Austin getting tied up in the ropes and they're all holding him down, and Shawn with the belt. This is the closest you're going to get to the belt. Where Foley and Funk come back out in like hospital gowns and what have you, coming out to try and cause some chaos. Which all leads to the next pay-per-view, No Way Out, with an unsanctioned 8-man tag team match of Stone Cold Steve Austin, Owen Hart, Cactus Jack, and Chainsaw Charlie versus the team of Triple H, the New Age Outlaws, and Savio Vega. Shawn was supposed to have been in this match, but because of what happened at the Royal Rumble with his back, he couldn't be in the match. And Savio being in the match, I guess to some degree it made sense because the Bariquas were DX associates. So it's just, why not just throw somebody in there? Yeah. But this 8-man tag was an awesome 8-man tag. So much carnage, candy, and it was brilliant. In the end, Austin, Owen, Cactus, and Chainsaw picked up the win. Which all leads to WrestleMania, the dumpster match with Cactus and Chainsaw versus the Outlaws for the tag team titles. And this was another awesome match. One of the most underrated matches in WrestleMania history, I feel. If people who have not seen this match or haven't seen it in a long time, go watch it. It is awesome. And to see Terry Funk at 53 taking even more bumps like this, like getting powerbombed through the dumpster, like, Jesus Christ, man.
Mm-hmm. That big, nasty bruise on his side.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was fucking
whole
nasty.
area just wrecked.
And then, of course, I love the finish to this match as Cactus and the Outlaws fight backstage. Chair shots galore, Powerades everywhere. They get put on the forklift. Chainsaw somehow gets his old ass back there and then lifts him up on the forklift, dumps him in the dumpster, and they pick up the win, but trapping them with the forklift. I got this! I got your son of a bitch! And Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie win the tag titles in an awesome feel-good moment to the show.
However,
the following night.
Yes.
Yep, the following night.
I was there.
Illegal dumpster.
I was there too.
Yes.
But yeah, which all leads to the next night on Raw. We would get a rematch between the two teams in a steel cage, which the Outlaws win thanks to help from Triple H and new member of DX, X-Pac. And the Outlaws officially become DX members on this night.
DX Army.
The DX Army was made on
Shawn
this
is
night.
gone, and Triple H cuts the promo, and out comes X-Pac. Look who's back.
I picked it up, and I'm running to the end zone.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We're here to rip ass in the World Wrestling Federation. That means to fuck.
Hulk Hogan, you suck,
pal. Over Eric Bischoff, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall will be right here with me.
which is true.
Yep,
absolutely true. Because had Nash and Hall gotten granted their release, they probably would have been here on this night, and it would have been absolutely insane.
That's a great concept to rebook sometimes. That's
yeah, that would be a good concept. Well, how would we book Nash and Hall coming back in 1998? That'd be
Have them beat everybody and give them the belts.
Yes, pretty much. Pretty much.
No, you probably put them right into a program of some kind with Steve.
Yeah, I would say so.
Because you could have Steve and, I mean, it's 98, so you could have Steve and Taker kind of team up a little bit, and you have Kane getting involved, and just leave DX out of it. And
here's the thing: do we carry over the NWO angle?
No.
Or do we just have them come back as Razor and Diesel?
Now, the first thing they do with Hall and Nash is make them come out and cut a promo on WCW, bury everybody, because that's what they'd want to do anyway. And so that becomes that deal. And, you could have, like, Paul White come out and say, oh, I know you guys, and you want to talk shit about that company? Well, I was there when you were there, and you're no freaking angels either. And then you can start something with those two and Paul White, and maybe, Sean Waltman comes out, tries to separate them. He's another WCW guy. So, it starts.
A lot of things we could come up with for sure.
Yeah,
if we were to do that.
But you mentioned Steve.
Mm-hmm.
That leads us to the next part where Mick turns heel.
Yeah, so
because the fans the entire time were chanting, "We want Austin, Austin."
Yeah, so the very next week. Yeah, the very next week on Raw, Cactus comes out, cuts a scathing promo on the fans. I gave you every bit of energy that I had, and while I was laying there helpless, you were chanting someone else's name. So what you did to me and Terry Funk was goddamn disgusting. After 13 years of blood, sweat, and tears, it's not worth it anymore. It's going to be a long time before you see Cactus Jack in the ring again. Officially turn heel the next week when he come out as Corporate Dude Love, turn on Austin, and join Vince, which all sets up for the next
some love in the war zone.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, the Love Shack. Spawn that. Which leads to the next two pay-per-views. So at Unforgiven, we'd see Austin versus Dude Love for the WWF title. Great match, but with a stupid finish. How does Austin get DQ'd for hitting a chair on Vince, who's not in the match?
Because
he's the owner.
He's using a weapon.
Yeah. He's the owner of the company. He's not assaulted official. Please, that's Wrestling 101.
He assaulted an official of the World Wrestling Federation, so he is disqualified.
If you permit me, one moment, please.
But Dude Love would
then
be...
Then we get the much better rematch.
Well, before we get there, yeah, Dude Love would defeat Stone Cold by DQ at Unforgiven, and then Dude Love, or Mick Foley now, is begging for another shot, and Vince's like, oh, you can get it if you can beat Terry Funk in a hardcore match tonight.
Yes.
May 11th, 1998.
Fucking great match.
Yep.
Another one of the best matches in Raw history between these two, and with Austin on commentary, that was like the cherry on top.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
this was like Terry Funk's like swan song. He never had a match like this ever afterwards.
No.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, he had a little run in WCW, but none of those matches there lived up to this one.
No,
yeah,
this was Terry Funk's last true great brawl.
Yeah, that the one night stand match, the 6-person.
Yeah,
that was pretty much it.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. But yeah, these two go all over the building and have a great match with Foley picking up the win. And then back as Dude Love, we get the rematch at the end of the month at Over the Edge. Dude Love versus Steve Austin with Vince McMahon as the special guest referee.
Deck stacked against Austin.
Yes.
You have a timekeeper, you have a ring announcer, the referee, and his hand-chosen corporate champion.
Yep.
How is Austin gonna survive this?
I'll tell you how. The Undertaker shows up all by himself to watch over Vince like a fucking hawk.
Uh-huh.
And this match, much better than the Unforgiven match. One of the best matches Austin had during this first title reign. These two beat the shit out of each other. It was
the best
bloody.
match Mick had under Dude Love.
Absolutely.
It was overbooked as fuck.
Yeah,
but it was
this
great.
It's
at the time,
it is one of the best overbooked matches ever, and everybody tries to replicate it, and you can never replicate something like this.
Nope.
No. And then, of course, in the end, with Vince knocked down after chair shots, Austin hits the stunner, and then Austin takes Vince's hand. 1, 2, 3. Austin retains the title.
There will only be a 3 count
by my hand only.
Yep. Just those. Oh man, such good stuff.
Yeah. But then the whole dissension between Vince and Foley would be short-lived because the very next night on Raw, we get the classic work shoot promo from The Undertaker wanting his shot at the WWF title. Vince, well, you'll get your shot when you have to beat your own brother Kane. And we get that Undertaker-Kane match. Mankind returns and costs The Undertaker the match. Kane becomes the #1 contender. Should note that on 2 weeks later, on the June 15th Raw, Kane and Mankind would challenge Stone Cold and The Undertaker to a tag team Hell in a Cell match. But before that, they would compete in a tag team Royal Rumble match for a shot at the tag titles, which Kane and Mankind would win, last eliminating Terry Funk and Flash Funk. And then we get this tag team Hell in a Cell match, and it was more a segment than a match, but it was fucking awesome.
Also, I think it was. The tag team Hell in a Cell? I think that was in Albany as well.
Maybe, yeah, I think you're right. I wasn't at that.
It's funny how it's more of a segment, but they still count this in Hell in a Cell canon.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, like this. Yeah, they do. But it was still a cool match nonetheless. Especially the stuff with Undertaker beating the fuck out of Paul Bearer and bloodying him up. Austin beating the shit out of Mankind while Kane's trying to break in through the roof. And then the only way you can watch the whole match, because the show cuts off as Austin's on top beating the hell out of Kane. To watch the whole match, go to the network and watch the Extra Attitude, and you see the end of the match where Foley takes the fall, gets pinned after a stunner from Austin, and Austin and Undertaker win, which all sets up, oh man, to King of the Ring. The match!
Nothing happened on that show. We don't talk about it.
My God! Visuals.
That's what we've been working on the whole time, folks.
I got Taker with his little hat, and there's Mankind, there's JR and King with his crown.
Here's the Spanish announce tape.
They didn't have enough room.
Very nice. Very nice.
But
clip that, please.
Really
Somebody
good.
clip that.
Really good.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, I mean, this Hell in a Cell, nothing really special. I mean...
Nah, nothing happened of importance. You know, it's kind of a throwaway match. Literally.
Wow!
Because, like, 90 seconds in, Undertaker grabs Mick and tosses him off the fucking cell.
Oh, Ricky's clipping that, huh?
Freaking
Thank you, Ricky.
7-year-old me is the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life.
4-year-old or almost 4-year-old me.
I was in high school with me, my dad, and like 3 of my good friends. We all decided to just pitch in and watch the pay-per-view. We didn't think much of it until that match happened, and we were like literally just screaming at the television.
And my brothers were in high school at this time, and they were losing their minds. Yeah,
we watched it. We watched it. It was not all of us, but it was most of my friends. We watched that, freaked out completely. Then we called our friend Lee, and because he hadn't been able to see it yet, so we brought him over to one of our houses and showed him the tape. And we show him the tape, and like the first big one that Mick does, Lee like no-sold. He's like, yeah, he kind of telegraphed he was going to do that, and we threw him off there, and yeah, I kind of saw that coming. But when the second one happens and he goes through the cage, I'm looking right at Lee's face, and Lee's face changed. It went from it was like, and legit, he just like froze. He did not believe what he just saw.
Yeah, because remember. Yeah, because remember, that was not supposed to happen. Because they thought, oh, it'd be a good idea if we held the roof together with fucking zip ties.
I mean, when people talk about this match, they just say, oh, it's 2 spots. No, it's not just the 2 spots.
They still went out there and beat the shit out of each other.
One of the greatest spectacles in the history of the company.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And arguably the most famous match of the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
One of the most famous matches ever.
Yes. It's a night that Kevin Sullivan and WCW watched that match. This is when WCW Nitro was beating Raw, and Sullivan saw that. He said, guys, it's over. He just freaking jumped off a cage and went through it. We're done. This is over.
So they couldn't do anything to top that because they were that was the start of the restrictions for WCW. So it was like, well.
Yep.
And then, of course, thumbtacks, blood, and of course the classic visual with the tooth up his nose. And Foley's even said, like, people thought he was smiling, but no. Putting his tongue through his lip to feel if there was a hole. And yeah, there was a hole in his lip from when the chair hit him right in the mouth.
Where the hell he was.
He was out of it.
Did
Undertaker...
Thumbtacks?
And Undertaker with an ankle injury going into this match.
Broken ankle.
Broken ankle.
Yeah, he broke that during the segment where he broke into Paul Bear's home.
Yep. And you see him wince a little bit after Foley goes through the cage and Taker has to come in the cage. He like, very gingerly, as softly as he can, tries to land in the ring, and you just see him one little silent little wince there. Would not sell it. And that's, of course, when he chokeslams Terry Funk out of his shoes.
Yeah.
The fact that it's like both got, like Mick got really hurt, but the fact that nobody got more hurt than what they already did is just...
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Like that bump through the cage, that's one of those, like, just an inch a different way, and it could have been disaster.
To this day, when I watch that match, when Foley's being carted out on the stretcher, and then they cut back to the ring, you see Taker being risen there or whatever, and then they cut back to Foley, and he's getting off the thing, and then it cuts to that shot of Foley like they're trying to drag him back.
And he's smiling like
this. And when he like, oh my god, when he breaks free, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. It was like that. I was like, yeah. It was like he's unfreaking stoppable.
Yeah. And of course the classic quote from JR, either he's crazy as hell or he is the toughest SOB I have ever seen. Jerry Lawler, how is he still standing? A lot of us ask that.
Famous story after this of Vince, thank you for all you have done, but you will never do that again. Which that lasted all of about 6 months.
6 months, yeah.
We will get to that when we get into 1999. So yeah,
got that restrictor plate put on him.
I see what you did there. So yeah, Mick had the governor put on him after that. But so then after that, Foley's still going after that. Like he was even on the next night on Raw in the backstage segment.
He made the run-in in the main event.
He had a run-in on Kane and Austin.
It's like, what the hell are you doing, Mick?
Why? Because that is an attitude that is just not there anymore. For guys that care that much about the business, that they will do whatever needs to be done to get business done, and nobody does that anymore.
That or he just didn't want to go home and deal with Kvlt.
Yeah, that
too.
Oh, hey,
go home anyway.
This Cactus Jack.
Oh yeah, that phone call from beyond the mat. Yeah, I forgot about that.
This Cactus Jack. Did we use those thumbtacks? It's all fucking on him.
But yeah, so then we move into July, where he's still teaming with Kane. They would win the tag team titles from the New Age Outlaws on the July 13th episode of Raw, leading to Fully Loaded in the main event for the tag team titles. Kane and Mankind versus Stone Cold and Undertaker. One of the most star-studded, arguably the most star-studded tag title match in company history. Perhaps because look at the guys you got in this match. Like, holy shit. And they put on a really good tag match here with Austin and Taker winning the titles. which, of course, that would last for all of a few weeks, as on the August 10th Raw, Mankind and Kane would win back the tag team titles in a Four Corners match featuring the Outlaws and The Rock and D'Lo Brown. But of course, this was in the middle of the Our Undertaker and Kane in cahoots storyline, which was proven after they gave him the spiked tombstone, leading to the August 24th episode of Raw, where Mankind and Kane would have a Hell in a Cell match, which was arguably the shortest Hell in a Cell match in the history of the match. And it ended with Austin coming out from under the ring, attacking Kane, while Taker's trying to break in through the roof. And just as he breaks through, Vince raises the cell up, which then leads to SummerSlam. It's supposed to be...
way to hell!
Yep.
How many freaking times I had to hear that song that night? Oh my god!
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
Forever and ever and ever and ever.
Forever.
It kicks right in.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, at SummerSlam, originally it was supposed to be Kane and Mankind versus the New Age Outlaws, but Kane no-shows, so it's a handicap match for the tag titles, Mankind versus the Outlaws. The match was what it was. Outlaws
How much
won.
wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck
Could
could chuck
wood.
wood?
That was a classic. Outlaws would win the belts back. Post-match, Kane comes out from a dumpster and bashes Foley in the head with a sledgehammer, and then pushes the dumpster backstage. So that was it for August. September, Mankind would continue his feud with Undertaker and Kane, but now it features not only Austin, but The Rock and Ken Shamrock, because The Rock slowly splitting away from the nation, slowly turning babyface, especially after that ladder match against Triple H at SummerSlam. Including one match on, I believe it was one of them Saturday Night Raw episodes. You had a match between Undertaker and Mankind again, in which Undertaker Kane's getting ready to bash his head with a sledgehammer. Rock comes out of the dumpster and stops them both, and then just throws Foley over the rail like, get him out of here. Which all of this leads to Breakdown, triple threat steel cage match for a shot at the WWF title between Mankind, The Rock, and Ken Shamrock. Another great cage match. And one of the more underrated cage matches in the company, too.
I'm not selling for that people's elbow.
I will not sell it here or there. I will not sell it anywhere.
Not anywhere.
Sugar-coated testes.
Yeah, so this
would
would
sell that abortion. That's what he says.
But yeah, this was also the slow turning of the Mankind character away from the psychotic, tortured soul gimmick to more of a comedic character, which would come to fruition. And just a side note, The Rock would win this triple threat cage match, getting the title shot. October is when the whole character change came together on the October 5th episode of Raw, when they do the classic hospital angle with Vince and this ankle.
Mr. Sacco!
It's Mr. Sacco! Actually, hang on.
You just Sacco at that
worst,
point.
Hang on.
Worst ventriloquist act ever, which makes it the best.
The best ventriloquist.
What are you doing, Levi?
It's
Oh,
Mr.
God.
Sacco! Mr. Sacco!
You're
see,
born.
looking mighty bad. So
Wow.
how about I
By the
give
way-
you
by the way,
like a big
folks-
kiss?
Folks, that sock
Mick,
didn't come off his foot.
please.
Yes, it
Mick,
did.
please.
Well, I got
Damn
three
it, leave.
pairs. I got on
Damn
three
it,
pairs.
Mick, leave.
Okay, you just ruined the joke. Thanks.
Get out! Mr. Sacco.
Go.
If it wasn't for... If it was
Nurple.
not...
Don't forget Nurple.
Nurple the clown. But I'll just say this. If it wasn't for... If it was not for Vince, his reaction... Mr. Sacco. I don't think the sock would have
It
gotten
would have been
over.
sold. It would not have sold. that
Sacco
way.
316.
Yep.
And he
Vince
still...
hated it.
And he still...
Everyone had to love it.
And he
became
still, up to this day, still makes his own Mr. Saccos and sells them.
Yep.
So it goes to show you how long Sacco is. Mr. Sacco is more over than the majority of wrestlers today.
More over than Little Jimmy.
The most recent Mick Foley DVD, it came with a Mr. Sacco.
Which I had at one point, yep. So, and then throughout the rest of October, not really a whole lot, other than he would have an Intercontinental title match against Ken Shamrock at Judgment Day. A pretty good match, although the finish was fucking great. Shamrock has him in the ankle lock, but he's not going to tap out to the ankle lock, so he puts the mandible claw on himself and makes himself submit. And Shamrock's losing his shit like, what?
Pissed.
What? Ah, Mendoza!
It's 5 knuckle shuffle time!
Yes. Yep.
So basically you're saying it's time to whack off. That's what you're saying, Ken.
Yes.
But then we move into November, and right at the beginning, November 2nd episode of Raw, Vince McMahon would award the Hardcore Championship to Mankind, and then enter the Deadly Games tournament.
Thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Dad. And then we'd get the Deadly Games tournament, which he would go on to defeat Dwayne Gill, Al Snow, and Stone Cold Steve Austin before losing to The Rock in the finals and turning back babyface as a result.
Deadly Games!
It's a deadly game.
And then at the end of the month, on the November 30th episode of Raw, Mankind would lose the Hardcore title to Big Boss Man in a ladder match. Which all sets up for December, the next pay-per-view at Rock Bottom. Mankind gets a rematch against The Rock for the title. Really good match between these two. And we get where Foley has the mandible claw on, knocks out The Rock, wins the match, but doesn't get the title. Which now let's get into 1999. On the taped, what was it, December 28th? Yeah, December 28th, aired January 4th, 1999 episode of Raw. Mankind would lose a match to Triple H to qualify for the Royal Rumble match, but Triple H knows that Shane screwed him over and beats up Shane and then says, Mankind, he's all yours. And then baits
I'm gonna break his goddamn arm if you don't give me a title match.
Please let go of me! Yeah, baiting Vince into giving him a no DQ match for the title later that night. Vince gives it to him, and we get this match. Another really good match between Rock and Mankind. It was kind of almost like a lumberjack match because you had the Corporation and you had DX at ringside. And they put on a really good match. Stone Cold shows up to one of the biggest pops of all time.
Wow.
The loudest pop of all time.
It has to be. It's unmeasurable. But yeah, it had to be one of the biggest ones, if not the biggest.
Yeah, and after chair shot to The Rock, puts Foley's arm on top. 1, 2, 3. Crowd goes for another insane pop as Mankind would defeat The Rock to win the WWF Championship, his first
Adrian!
title.
I did it!
And don't forget Tony Schiavone helping out.
Yes, thanks, Tony.
Yep, appreciate that, Tony.
Unfortunately, I do not have an artistic rendition of that moment, although I should have drawn one. But.
That's okay.
Yes.
We still got about another year or so left, so we'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's the whole thing on Monday Nitro. They plugged because it was pre-taped. They knew it was going to happen. They shill that. We understand that Mick Foley, who wrestled here years ago as Cactus Jack, is going to win their championship. Huh! It's going to put on butts and seats. Which, yes, was fed to Tony by Eric Bischoff, and it blew up in their faces because 500,000 homes supposedly switched over from Nitro to Raw to see that moment and then instantly switch back over.
Yeah, because Nitro won.
Nitro overrun beat Raw.
Yep, right, because that was like the reforming of the NWO that night.
Yeah. Finger poke of doom.
Foley even pointed out, the fans, WCW definitely had a main event that people wanted to see. Because after he wins, they switch back over. But if Schiavone hadn't made that comment where everyone jumped over like this, it would have been a different rating setup for them. So, yeah, WCW shot themselves in both feet on that one.
Not to mention, Foley even called Jim Tony and like basically said like, "You hurt my feelings. Why would you do that?"
And then he owned up and said, "Yeah, it was Eric. He told me to do it." Which Tony would never stooge on anybody.
No.
But so after this, it sets up to here we go. Sets up for Royal Rumble I Quit match for the WWF title between Mankind and The Rock. Now, let's keep this in mind. Earlier on Sunday Night Heat, you would hear Mankind in this promo saying, like, I will never say the words, I quit, I quit, I quit. Clipped. So we get this match. It's an amazing match, but nowadays, kind of hard to watch because, oh my lord.
Wow.
The Hell in a Cell
Mick,
match.
You're never going to go that far again, except taking about 24 chair shots to the head.
And they're hard ones
while
at that.
Handcuffed.
Yes, yep. I was about to say, you thought the Hell in a Cell match was brutal? This was brutality on another scale because, good lord. And here's the thing. I noticed with The Rock and steel chairs, I would not trust him to hit me with a chair because he was so carried away with the steel chair every step. Like the fucking shot on Shamrock the year before. Never trust The Rock with a steel chair ever.
It sucks, but you got to make it look good. You got to make it look good.
You got to make it look good.
I saw him at the moment, I'd have beat the crap out of him. For real. Yeah, Mick wanted to beat Rock up for real because of those shots.
Yeah, because, the thing with The Rock, it's like every other guy seems to know how to use the steel chair right, make it look good, but not, like, completely mangle someone's brain. But The Rock...
say it, jabroni. I quit.
Rock shades and
shades.
Which that was the finish after
you got to put Colette and the kids screaming and crying in the front.
Filming Beyond the Mat for this.
Yep. Yes, they were. So that's where you get the real story of everything here. Like, oh my god, those chair shots, they traumatized Mick's wife and kids so much, they left ringside.
Yeah, and also you saw the surgery where they were putting the cut on his head ahead of time, so it would bleed because he couldn't gig. His hands are handcuffed. And don't forget, he's got the mask on. It's padded somewhat, so he is not getting completely annihilated, but he's getting enough. But it's not as worse as it could have been without that. Check Balls Mahoney and Masato Tanaka. That's brutality.
Poor, Teddy Long holding the little tray of water over Mick's head, and underneath Mick's head so the blood can drip in there.
Blood can drip down there, yep. Yeah. Just a little boo-boo, that's all it is. Just a little boo-boo.
Yeah. They can't hurt Dad-ass.
Nope.
But to finish up my point about The Rock and the steel chair, Rock, I love you. But you suck with a steel chair, pal. And of course, the finish to this match, Rock, say it, jabroni, holds the mic to Mick's mouth, and you hear, I quit, I quit, I quit. And then...
We also forgot him going through the speaker.
Oh, through the speaker system.
The explosion, the gimmick,
Yeah, the gimmick.
We got to stop this. No. I'm going to make that son of a bitch say I quit. I'll be damned if he don't.
But then the next night on Raw, Mankind has The Rock's money bag and starts giving out over $100,000 to random people.
I may have been unconscious, but I don't remember saying I quit.
Yeah, so he plays Sherlock Holmes and actually points out that the way he said I quit in that Sunday Night Heat promo was the exact same that was played over the speakers during the match. So he's like, you didn't make me say I quit. I won my rematch, and we're going to do it at Halftime Heat, empty arena match. January 31st on Sunday Night Heat, Halftime Heat, because this was during the Super Bowl. And they're like, why would you want to watch a shitty concert when you can come here and watch The Rock and Mankind duke it out in an empty arena match for the WWF title? An amazing brawl. Another one of those ahead of its time moments. And it's one of those matches up until when it became the norm last year. only very rarely did you see an empty arena match. I think the only other one I can remember was Sting and Kurt Angle in February 2009 in TNA. That was the only other empty arena match I could remember.
They did one, well, yeah, on television, yeah, because they did one in Ring of Honor. I think it was Christopher Daniels and Samoa Joe. And the first ever infamous one is Terry Funk and Jerry Lawler from 1981, I think. That's what kind of started the whole concept of doing it. But yeah, and I don't remember any other major promotion that's done the empty arena deal on top of those matches.
Right. And I love the finish to this match. They're out in the loading dock. Foley's bringing down the forklift with what looks like kegs of beer.
And the camera.
Please. Out, please. Saying please?
Mm-hmm. Cinematic matches before that. Way
before they became the norm. And and then Rock's trapped underneath. Pin 1, 2, 3. Mankind gets the belt back.
Go, Adrian! I did it again!
And then that moves us to How Funny. We talked about this match last week. St. Valentine's Day Massacre, the last man standing match for the title. Great match, but with a terrible finish, of course.
What's the finish? What Walter's doing.
Oh, the finish?
Yeah, draw.
Draw, yeah.
So then after this match, it seemed like we were going to get Mankind versus Stone Cold at WrestleMania, but Vince and The Rock are like, Mick, you're gonna defend the title against The Rock in a ladder match, damn it. So we get a ladder match between Mankind and The Rock for the title. Another really good match between these two. The Rock would get the belt back due to interference from Paul White. Later, The Big Show. Setting up their match, which brings us right into March. WrestleMania 15, Mankind versus The Big Show. Winner becomes the special guest referee for The Rock Austin title match, which Mankind wins. Post-match gets chokeslammed into chairs by The Big Show and is taken out of the show for a bit. But Foley does show up towards the end of the main event in a big way, attacking Vince and calling the rest of the match down the middle, and helps Austin, well, not help, but counted the 3 for Austin to get the belt back. And that was a cool moment. Now, in April, largely feuding with The Big Show, but they start to develop more of a friendly rivalry. Like, they slowly become friends, because Big Show had turned babyface at this point after WrestleMania. So they're having a friendly, brutal rivalry going on, which culminates at Backlash in the second ever Boiler Room Brawl. And while not nearly as good as the one against Taker, still a really good match. Although fucking Kevin Dunn do a fucking better job at cutting the camera. Because you clearly see Big Show bleeding at one point. Kevin Dunn, fuck you.
It's a TV show. We all know that happens.
Because I don't know why you think we're wrestling. Even though we have wrestlers
Cornette and Doug fighting backstage
and wrestling booths
while the camera
and wrestling rings.
No, you stupid motherfucker! Put the camera on there.
Yeah, I bet you Jim Cornette was thinking that when that happened.
You're going tiresome.
Here's my new artistic. It's us.
Oh, nice.
Like, it's just the logo.
Clip, please.
Yeah, clip that, Ricky, if you can.
Shit. Awesome.
That was cool.
Although I mean, if you follow G.I. Joe, I made Scott look like Dr. Mindbender or something.
And what did you do? Give me long hair?
No, that's my hood.
That's him in the hood.
You just got a smiley face.
I'm bald? I'm bald to you?
I'm a circle and a triangle.
He's a triangle. James is a triangle.
The most accurate depiction is James.
Yes.
I'm Idaho.
Why am I Idaho? Why am Idaho?
Where did I become Ricky Morton? Walter knows that one.
Oh, God. But anyways,
May 1999.
Well, real quick, just one last little fuck you to Kevin Dunn. Yeah, you're a terrible producer. Get the fuck out. Too bad you won't until Triple H takes over.
Okay. To be fair, Kevin Dunn has had his moments, but
like when?
That one time and that
Name
other
12.
time.
Name 12.
Number 1, number 2, number 3, 4.
So I guarantee you, if I met Jim Cornette, he and I would become best friends immediately because we would just shit on Kevin Dunn.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
there you go.
Then he hate you when you said something stupid.
Yes, that's
I'm never gonna fucking talk to you again. God damn it! You're blocked forever.
Oh, Walter's having too much fun with his fucking drawing board.
Done and done. Thank you.
Thank you, Ricky.
All right.
So now to May 1999. So we get the formation of the Union, or Up Yours, the Union of people you ought to respect, Shade. So it's Mankind, Big Show, Test, and Ken Shamrock together, with Vince McMahon as well.
And 2x4s.
With 2x4s.
The only union you will ever see in wrestling.
Yes.
Union.
Yeah, Union. It was in WWF 2000 or No Mercy. One of those two games. It's on there.
Union.
Yep.
Can
we use that?
Union.
Can we use that on this show?
So yeah, the Union would form together to feud against the corporate ministry during this time. So a couple of notes. May 10th, which is another one of the best Raw episodes of all time. The May 10th Raw, you see a one-off return of Cactus Jack as he took on Mideon and Viscera in a handicap hardcore match, which Cactus would win. And then at Over the Edge, unfortunately, we get a 8-man tag team match, the Union versus the corporate ministry members of the Acolytes, Big Boss Man, and Viscera, which the Union would win. Post Over the Edge, Foley would be written off of TV when Triple H attacked his knee with a sledgehammer to give him some time away. So you didn't see him during June, July. You wouldn't see him come back until the build-up to SummerSlam. Comes back, becomes a number one of the top contenders for the WWF Championship match at SummerSlam, because remember, originally it was supposed to have been... Well, there was a couple of different plans they had for this match at SummerSlam.
Austin, Ventura, and McMahon at one point was one of the matchups.
Triple H, Austin,
changed every
one-on-one.
week.
Yeah, it changed every week for like 2-3 weeks. It was ridiculous.
Austin
Bruno versus
and
Triple
Yoko.
H. Fucking hell. Yeah, so the actual original plan was supposed to have been Austin, Triple H, one-on-one. Then they threw around the idea of Austin versus Chyna. Then, because Jesse Ventura is going to be the referee, they made it a triple threat. Austin, Triple H, and Mankind. However, there were a couple of different rumored reasons why Foley got the belt. One of the big, long-standing rumors was Ventura did not want to raise the hand of a heel. And then the other one, Austin didn't want to put over Triple H right then and there because of certain issues.
I buy that one more than anything else. People want to give shit to a lot of people for their backstage politics, but nobody says a goddamn thing about Austin.
Yeah.
And I love Austin, don't get me wrong.
He's my number one guy.
Share shit.
Everybody has had their fair share. It's the
nature
of the
top
beast.
guy, man. When you're the top guy, you want to keep that spot as long as you can, and it's got to make sense for you to give that spot up. And really, though, because you're in the bubble, You know, you're not paying attention to the wide picture because you can't see it from where you are. You're so far in that bubble that you just have to go by what's been working. You can't change it. So it's like, okay, I got to keep it. How are we going to keep it on me? No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm keeping it.
And not to mention 1999 as a whole, the fucking WWF title changed almost like every month. So if Austin would have dropped it, even though he did drop it on this match, if he still, even if he dropped it to Triple H, it would have been like, well, he only had the belt for fucking almost 2 months. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't have helped him in any way. But storyline wise, it would have made sense if Triple H won because he had just became number one contender by beating The Rock. Would have been perfect. But Foley getting it for one day, it is what it is. He would drop it to Triple H the next night on Raw. But then the very next week, we get a nice little something. He and The Rock come together to form the Rock and Sock Connection and would defeat The Undertaker and Big Show for the tag titles on that night. Though their reign only lasted like almost 2 weeks, as we move right into September. On the September 9th episode of SmackDown, they would drop the belts back to Undertaker and Big Show in the first ever tag team Buried Alive match. Which the match was okay, but this match is mostly memorable for a couple of things. First, Big Show tossing Foley 25 feet into the fucking grave. Like, that bump he took on the dirt before he went in the fucking grave. Good Lord, Foley. Again.
Bounced!
He bounced into the grave. Like he was like a Rocky skip across a pond. Boom! Which wasn't fucking impressive that Big Show tossed him that far. And then, of course, the post-match stuff with Triple H getting beat up by Austin and then getting hit in the ambulance by a truck. And so on and so forth. But while this was going on, which leads to Unforgiven, the six-pack challenge for the WWF title, Foley was in the match along with Triple H, The Rock, Kane, Big Show, originally The Undertaker, but because of his groin injury, they rid him off and put in British Bulldog, and this would be the last high-profile match Bulldog would have really in his whole career after this. And Foley played his part. The match itself was pretty good. Triple H would win the belt, or retain the title, I should say.
Win the belt.
No, he did win the belt because Vince had it.
Vince won the belt, then he vacated it, and it was for the vacant belt. Yeah.
With Austin as special enforcer, too. And then we move into October. Rock and Sock Connection still... Huh?
We forgot The Rock, This Is Your Life.
Oh yes! September 27th.
Classic segment.
One of the best segments in Raw history, This Is Your Life.
The highest rated non-match...
in Raw history. Raw. Yeah. So many funny moments, including the end. Happy birthday, Rock! The Rock's birthday's May 2nd, you dumb son of a bitch. Oh, bless you, Foley. Now we get into October, and the Rock and Sock Connection's still going. However, on the side, Mankind was teaming up with Al Snow around this time. Which begins...
Al?
Al? Who is Al? This is Al?
I'm standing right here.
Which leads to the October 18th episode of Raw, when the Rock and Sock Connection officially would split for the most part, when Foley thought Rock threw his book in the trash, which we'll get back to that after a bit. So then we move into November... and we get to Survivor Series tag title match, Mankind and Al Snow versus the New Age Outlaws, which Mankind and Al Snow lost. And originally, let's keep this in mind, originally this was meant to be Foley's last match because knee problems, beginnings of memory loss, all the injuries racking up from over the years, Mankind or Mick Foley was ready to call it quits. But when he realized Austin was going away to get neck surgery, needed to fill in a void to help things out for a short time. So he's like, okay, I'll stick around for a little bit after this and see what happens there. So then we get to the November 29th episode of Raw. The Rock and Sock Connection would reunite for one match as they would team up against Kane, or with Kane against DX. Now we move into December. On the December 6th episode of Raw, Al Snow officially turned heel on Mankind when he admits that he was the one who threw the book in the trash, not The Rock. And he said, just to prove to you how much of a real friend The Rock was. Which all leads to, later that week, the December 9th episode of SmackDown, really good Falls Count Anywhere match between Mankind and Al Snow that ended with what looked like Al luring Mick Foley into the DX locker room. You hear bunch of smacks and shit, and then Al Snow just flies right out of the door. Mankind pin. 1, 2, 3. And Michael Cole's like, well, I guess it was a plan that backfired on Al Snow. King, it's The Rock! The Rock's dressing room! And and Foley wins the match, but wasn't even on the Armageddon card, which was interesting. However, final Raw of the year, December 27th. Or actually, no, he was on the Armageddon card. He and The Rock would team up against the Outlaws, but would win by DQ, but didn't get the belts. My bad.
Right.
But now, final episode of Raw, 1999, December 27th. The McMahon-Helmsley era begins as they force Mankind and The Rock to battle in a pink slip on a pole match. And no, Vince Russo was not here at this time.
He was gone at this point.
He was gone.
The McMahon-Helmsley era kind of sucks.
Yeah,
Yes.
Rock would beat Mankind to keep his job, quote unquote, with Mankind being forced to leave. And yeah, that was a big moment. And then 2 weeks later, now we're in the 2000. Mankind returns on the January 10th episode of Raw when The Rock has pretty much everybody in the roster at ringside threatening to walk out if a lot of demands weren't met. The big one, reinstate Mick Foley, and Triple H and Stephanie do. But they also request a 8-man tag match. The Rock, Mankind, and the Acolytes versus DX. Triple H, X-Pac, and the Outlaws. And we get that match. Solid 8-man tag, but most memorable for the Triple H Mankind interaction. The pedigree through the announce table that busts him up. And then even after the match is over, Foley coming in like a rocket, just going to town on Triple H, takes the mask off, and you see the blood pouring. What? And the reaction on Triple H's face afterwards, like, oh shit, what did I just do? Because he's like, yeah, he awoken a monster. And then later that week on the January 13th episode of SmackDown, Mankind coming out with the bloody shirt. I don't think Mankind's ready to face you in a street fight at the Royal Rumble, but I have found a suitable substitute for that match.
I think the people deserve a substitute in that match.
And I think you know the guy. Well. And his name is Cactus Jack.
Like another one.
Desperate times call for desperate measures.
Yeah.
That's another promo.
Oh my God!
Another great Foley promo, and Triple H's face. Like, oh shit. I do not want to face Cactus. I remember him.
Superman. It's fucking Superman. It's Clark Kent becoming Superman, basically, at that point. I always likened that promo to any kid who had ever been bullied on a playground. And in their mind, they just wanted to just grow 10 feet and become 500 pounds and just, everything just shreds to where they become like this monster. That is actually like a perfect visualization of what that is. Just like, fuck you, I'm here to kill you now.
Absolutely.
Right.
Still, goosebumps on it. Love it.
Yeah. Which, of course, leads us to Royal Rumble, the street fight, Cactus Jack versus Triple H for the WWF title. One of the greatest street fight in the history of the business. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Best street fight in the history of the business. Oh, yeah. Classic.
One of the best matches in the history of Madison Square Garden.
Yep.
One
of the best matches of the year.
Yep.
I dare say the best match of Triple H's career.
Yep. And this was the match that pretty much helped solidify Triple H's place in the main event going forward.
Right.
And this was
the reason why Mick stayed. Mm-hmm. He wanted to put Triple H over.
Yep.
Yeah. Goes to show you how selfless Foley was in the business at this point. Just wanted to do what he could to help the other guys out going forward.
So look at what we've seen so far. I know we're rounding the end of this now, but look at what we've seen. He's helped to develop The Undertaker into a more humanized character to where you felt more for him. He helped build Steve Austin as his first challenger for the championship as a credible badass champion. He helped create and enhance Kane by working with him and becoming tag partners. He helped Big Show by working with him as a tag partner.
Helped The Rock.
And helped The Rock. He is now helping Triple H. Can you not name a better run in history than maybe Randy Savage when it comes to like just having a solid top tier run over this time period there, it is hard to find a good solid run like this.
Yeah. And yeah, with this match, of course, we would see almost a repeat of what happened the year before. Cactus handcuffed and taking chair shots, though thankfully it's not with The Rock. Triple H is a lot safer with a chair. Mm-hmm. And of course, a couple of interesting things about this match. First off, the couple of the ouchie spots that didn't seem obvious until you hear the stories back. The big one being the suplex on the wooden pallets. There was one pallet that was sticking out, and when Triple H takes the bump in his leg, hits that shard, stabbed his calf, and he bled everywhere from his calf.
Yep.
So, and then of course, the chair, the head of the chair getting broken from all the shots, and then the barbed wire wrap 2x4 gets introduced here. And so many shots with that, and Triple H bleeding a gusher in this match. Mm-hmm. Like, whew. And then, of course, the more chair shots with Cactus handcuffed. The Rock even appears to help Cactus out and hits Triple H with the chair. And then, of course, the classic ending, the pedigree into the thumbtacks. Good Lord, Mick. Slow down, man.
That was impromptu.
Yeah.
Because you had a pedigree, Mick kicked out. He's like, pedigree me through those thumbtacks, and he does
it. Get it right, and then I'll lay down for you.
Yeah. And Triple H would defeat Cactus Jack to retain the title, but Cactus would say that, hey, I told you I was going to make Triple H bleed, and I did. Which, of course, leads to February now. We get a rematch between the two at No Way Out. This time, it's title versus career. If Cactus loses, he's done. But if he wins, he gets the title, goes on to the main event of WrestleMania. Triple H says, you can have any kind of match you want. Hell in a Cell!
Yep.
And then we get this Hell in a Cell match. While this match not as good as the street fight, still an amazing match between these two. More barbed wire wrap 2x4 action, including setting them. And as Mick Foley said on the Hard Knocks and Cheap Pops DVD, I want to light the son of a bitch on fire. And I usually don't swear that much, but I want to light the son of a bitch on fire. Whack with a burning 2x4 wrapped in barbed wire. And then we get the classic moment of the match. Goes for a pile driver, backdrop through the roof, only this time it was meant to happen, and the ring gives.
Yep.
And then even Cactus kicks out of that, and then a pedigree. 1, 2, 3. Triple H beats Cactus Jack, and it seemed like Foley was done. And great moment at the end with...
There's more.
But great moment at the end with Jim Ross putting him over huge. You will be missed, Cactus. Godspeed, Mick Foley. But... Now, before we get to the but... Originally, the plan... What?
What the hell are you talking about, boy? Before we get to the butt. What are we talking about here?
Anyways, before we get to... But before we get to what we're going to get to, the original... The original...
I know I'm number one, thank you.
Now I'm really losing it. Okay.
What in the asshole, kid?
What's the cure for hemorrhoids? Have a sweet ass.
That's right.
Anyways, so the original plan for the main event of WrestleMania 16, or, I'm sorry, 2000 for all you assholes.
When we get to the 2000th WrestleMania, it's going to be called WrestleMania 16.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyways, so the original plan for WrestleMania 16 was supposed to have been 4-way elimination match for the title, Triple H, The Rock, Big Show, and Chris Jericho, because he was on the poster for the show, advertising the match. But Vince McMahon decided, you know what? I feel bad we never gave Foley a main event at Mania. How about we bring him back for one last match so he can have his moment in the sun? March 20th episode of Raw, Linda McMahon comes out and introduces Mick Foley. And you can tell a lot changed with Foley after February. He gained a little bit of weight, cut his hair a little bit. Yeah.
And we find out in the match at WrestleMania, he did gain a little bit of weight because he doesn't make his target.
Yeah, so we get the match at Mania 16, which the match was okay, but It was all about the McMahons, really. Yeah. That's what the match itself isn't bad. It's an alright match, but it's mostly remembered for just a McMahon
a heel
drama.
Goes up in the main event.
True.
Unpopular opinion, they put Foley in this. Foley should have won the belt.
Yes.
Because you're telling the story, it's like Mick's finally getting his WrestleMania main event, and you don't have him go over. Why the fuck do you even bring him back?
Yeah, that's another one.
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like you just said, it was supposed to be Jericho, but then McMahon feels bad. Well, we never gave him a main event, so let's put him in there. Well, okay, why don't we put him over? Oh, we can't do that. It's got to be Triple H. Yeah, so it's like...
When in reality, this match should have just been Triple H and The Rock. What happened at Backlash should have happened here, with Austin showing up.
They couldn't get Austin for this show, so that's why. Even though I think Austin was there for access. He just couldn't do anything for the show.
Yeah. But regardless, and then throughout the rest of 2000, starting in June... We get the commissioner stuff, and oh my god, you want to talk about some great funny shit.
So does Rule!
Including one of the most underrated comedy moments in company history on a random episode of SmackDown. His office is in like a concession stand for food. Ow! Oh, hello, Mick. Now look, I know we've had our differences, but I just want to let you know, I've still got some things about you, and I wanted to give you a title shot. Oh, really? Me and The Rock?
No.
I meant the hardcore title.
You and The Rock. That's a good one. That's a good one.
So this close. You're lucky, Mick. Because
Final!
Yeah, the gavel.
Don't
Final!
hit your desk, Levi, don't hit your desk. We don't want to lose feet again.
Hey, I learned. But yeah, the reason why I love that moment so much is because on the Hard Knocks and Cheap Pop TV, the DVD ends with that, and they kept rewinding it over and over again. Only except for water, it was Pepsi. But the commissioner run...
Not sponsored.
But the commissioner run would last pretty much the rest of the year until the end of the year when... the whole Armageddon Hell in a Cell match happened where Mick made the promise that I will resign if any wrestler in that match gets injured. They say Triple H had a herniated disc and Rikishi getting hurt, so they're trying to beg him, resign, damn it! And then, thanks to Stone Cold, doesn't resign until a couple weeks later when Edge, Christian, Kurt Angle, and Vince McMahon just beat the fuck out of him, bloody him up. You're fired! And that's the end of the story.
Edge, Christian, Nick. Chris Benoit is here, and he's very mad. Chris Benoit is here, and he's very angry. These are the words that are to his song. Go see what wrestler can prove it wrong!
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
General Rewards is not funny.
Team Credgley. Credge.
Why are you wearing my chicken suit?
And that brings us to the end of the
So
story.
totally busted!
Oh, yeah. Oh, you guys are like so totally busted, man. Yeah, the Hardy Boys are going to have the shortest reign as tag champions. Well, they're going to need these. Shorter range, shorter umbrellas. You're Rika's weight, Mick. I thought it was funny. What do you think? I thought it was rather funny, Mr. Foley. You're damn right it was. But that brings us to the end of the story. So overall, Mick Foley's WWF run, 1996 to 2000, as Scott said.
One of the greatest runs. Oh, yeah. One of the greatest runs.
Absolutely. Which now...
Overachiever.
Yeah.
Actually, wait. Wasn't there one where Mick where Mick took it? This is when Kane and Tori were together, and Mick took advantage of Kane's jealousy and Tori's like insecurities by slapping Tori on the ass.
Yes.
And she goes to Kane. He violated me, and that was to beat.
Well, no. That was Test. That was Test. That was because Well, not the smack in the ass, but that moment where he violated me. No, it was just Tess trying to talk to Tori, and Tori's freaking out like, get away from me. Tori, it's just me, Tess. And then Tori, Tess violated me. Ah! That fucking God, Kane, why?
Well, wasn't there one?
But Foley did slap Tori in the ass, but that was after that.
Yeah, he slapped her in the ass just to get Kane to go beat up on, who was it, like Fake Mankind or?
Yeah. So now we get to the end of the show. What do we say is our favorite match of this entire run? And there are a lot of matches you could choose from.
Yeah, no holds barred. Triple H, Cactus Jack.
Yeah, it's Street Fight at the Rumble.
Entire run, the Street Fight. Yeah.
Walt.
I mean, it's one of many, but that one's probably my all-time favorite. Yeah, so
many to choose.
Hell in the Cell, or whatever. But yeah, I'd have to say that one.
Walter.
So many to choose, but I'm going to be the guy out there. I'm going to go with. I'm going to probably change my mind tomorrow, but I'm probably going to go with the dumpster match from WrestleMania 14.
Mm-hmm.
It's a feel-good moment. It's I mean,
and it was a great match.
Crazy, yeah, great crazy brawl, and the good guys went up.
Mm-hmm.
James,
they got their shine back after a horrific, accident.
I have to go with the Street Fight at the Rumble.
There you go.
There's so many though.
There are just so.
No
the match with Shawn was amazing. The matches with Undertaker were great. The matches with Rock were all great.
Mm-hmm.
But
and the match, yeah. But what else can we say about this that hasn't been said already? Yeah.
It's one of the best. One of the best of the time.
So that'll pretty much do it for tonight. Yeah, not as long as I thought we would go. Actually, 2 hours, not bad.
2 hours. So yeah, we got through it.
Yeah, we got through it.
Could have been a lot longer.
Oh yes. But anyways, before we go, a couple of notes. Next week is the final episode in February. We're talking No Way Out 2002, the night the NWO debuted.
New World Order.
And then after that, for the next 6 weeks, maybe a little more, it's WrestleMania's nonstop.
Oh, WrestleMania.
Yep. But before we go, it's plug time. Scott?
All right, find me on my YouTube channel, Mr. Scott Reacts. You also find me on Twitter and Instagram under Mr. Scott Reacts. And you find me on Twitch at Mr. Scott Rocks, where I go in there, I jam on songs, and I chat with people. That's it.
Oh, Walter.
You can find me on the Twitter at YourWaltBall, and you can find me on Instagram at smokin_Walt_ball. And you can find me and Scott on the Necrocasticon, where we join our friends Token Tom Clark, Skip Novak, and Sergeant Fury Dan Roberts. We discuss the best and latest in horror and metal, and more.
James.
YouTube at We Are Pro Wrestling, and you can follow me on Twitter at WAPW_wrestling.
And you can subscribe to me on YouTube, ThrashManiac99. Currently, I'm wrapping up Season 9 of the Marvel Studios Cup Series, doing album reviews, and my weekly Q&A show, 5 Questions with Levi, The Return. Already pretty much got most of the questions for next week's episode ready by people. So you got to get there quick in asking questions because people jump on that fast. But if you want to ask me questions for not this week's episode, but the week after, wait until episode 3 comes out Thursday and ask in the comments. You can follow and or subscribe to my Twitch right here that you've been watching on, some of you, twitch.tv/ThrashManiac99, and follow me on Twitter at ThrashManiac99. But like I said, be here next week for No Way Out 2002. But before we leave, I need to pick somebody to raid on Twitch. And I already have a person in mind. I actually raided him last night, but I'm going to raid him again because he deserves it. Channel named Cody Hatriot, a.k.a. Cody Sousa, the son of Steve Zetro Sousa from Exodus, who's actually the bassist and vocalist of the band Hatriot right now. Cool dude. Let's go raid him, give him some love. Until then, horns high. We'll see you next week.